Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Tonight's pose is scorpion. Or scorpion variations, because the full pose of scorpion is usually either in handstand or forearm balance, where you in those poses would bend your knees and arch your back and bring your toes to your head. So that's what scorpion is. Don't worry. You're like, holy shit, how are we supposed to do that? But working in scorpion variations, I think, is a really awesome place to work in back bends, largely because for it to work is you have to really understand how to get soft in your back while also creating that powerful shoulder girdle. And that's really huge for all of our back bends, but you feel it more in positions like scorpion because your arms are actually being used, right? So in bridge pose, we don't use the arms the same way to back bend. Similarly, we don't use the arms the same way in a pose like dancer pose, which is also a back bend, or camel pose. The arms are much more passive. They're involved, but they're not really actively engaged. So scorpion, in all of its variations leading up to the big ones that I just described, insists that you use the strength of your upper body and that you have to get softer through the back in order to find that opening that is the back bend, right? So you can't muscle your way through it. If you muscle your way through it, you're going to get stuck. If you get softer, the back bend starts to become something that feels much more fluid and less effortful, if that makes sense. And so my metaphor for you with this, why I'm talking about getting softer, is that there's one of my favorite stories, or parables, whatever you want to call it, metaphor stories, that involves a scorpion. And I've been talking about it this week, about what we call compassion fatigue, right? When you feel like you've gotten to the edge in yourself of what you can tolerate, right, from other people or the rest of the world, is that this is where we have the chance. We can either shut down or we can soften, right? So the story goes that, you think about this, that there's a young monk, Buddhist monk, yogic monk, any kind of monk, you kind of want, but there's a young monk that on the bank of a river, on the bank of a stream, finds a scorpion that had fallen into the water. And so because the monk wants to be compassionate, he says, well, it's still a living being, I want to help it. So he goes to pick the scorpion up out of the water, and the scorpion, being a scorpion, stings him, right? And so he drops the scorpion because, ow, I just got stung by a scorpion. Scorpion falls back into the water. And he says, scorpion's drowning again. I have to help it. So he goes to pick the scorpion up out of the water. And because the scorpion is a scorpion, stings him. Drops the scorpion back into the water, right? Repeat, scorpion's drowning. Got to pick it up. I got to save this being. Because the scorpion is a scorpion, stings him. Drops it back into the water. So this is going on. And after a while, right, scorpion stings are poisonous. So after a number of these stings, the monk is getting sicker and sicker and sicker, because now the poison is starting to take effect and he's getting weaker and weaker. So an older monk comes walking by and sees that the young monk is like ready to collapse. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, what happened to you? What are you doing? And he sees him. He's like, I have to save the scorpion. He's like, the scorpion, all beings need to be helped. It's compassion. I have to save the scorpion. And he sees him pick up the scorpion stings him again, drops it into the water. The monk is like, stop it, stop. The older monk's like, what are you doing? Stop. He's like, I can't. He's like, you're telling me to abandon this being? You're telling me to just let them die, like their life doesn't matter? And he says, no, I'm telling you to use a stick. Right? So it's like the punchline of a joke, right? But the idea there is that when we have this kind of very personal idea about how compassion is supposed to work, and we have that relationship with it where we are giving too much of ourselves, or we're giving in a way that is really painful or that's really destructive to us, and we think we're doing it for all the right reasons, we get super tired and it backlashes, right? We start to feel sick because of other people's stuff. We're like, but I still have to save them. I still have to try. I still have to try. And that older monk comes in and says, yeah, continue to try, but stop doing it in the way that hurts you, right? So this is our answer to the fatigue, is that it's not that we shut down and say, I just can't do it anymore. I'm going to die because of your stuff. I'm going to die because of my compassion. Instead, he says, why don't you use a tool? Why don't you find the way to still be compassionate, still offer love, still offer support, still offer everything that you want to offer, but in a way that is not so personally destructive, right? In a way that doesn't cause pain to you. And that's not always easy because it means we have to change our minds. It's not about the other person, right? The scorpion is the scorpion. That's part of the story. Because he's not doing it on purpose to be mean. It's the scorpion is the scorpion. That's what they do. They sting. But if we keep going through the same relationship over and over and over again, and we refuse to change, whose fault is it that we get sick? Right? What's the cause of our suffering? It's not the scorpion. Because we have access to the stick. Right? We have access to the tools. We have access to the little bit of detachment. That's sort of the metaphor, right? The little bit of space that says, I can do what I can for you without taking it personally, how you respond, without taking it personally, what happens afterwards, right? That's called the letting go part. That's the non-attachment part. So practice of the scorpion is to, one, recognize compassion, how important it is and how difficult it can be. But number two, to also realize that it is your relationship with that action or with that giving that makes it painful or not, right? It's not the reaction of the scorpion, it's you. So when you hit that edge in yourself where you're like, I just can't care anymore, you have the option to either shut down, still painful to you, but you shut down, or you soften. And that's what you're going to find over and over again in these types of back bends, is that if you muscle up, it's going to be harder on you, harder to do. You soften, you find that there's space, or you start to create space where there wasn't before. And then a lot of things can happen once there's space. So that's the story of the scorpion and the monk. What do you mean I should stop? I'm not telling you to stop. I'm saying use a stick. Use your tools. So find a comfortable seat, let your eyes close. And I personally like pairing, the scorpion story with the idea of the loving kindness, the metta meditation or Maitri meditation, because it is those scorpions in our lives, the ones that we feel like no matter what I do, they keep biting me. They keep slapping me. They keep refusing my help. They refuse my love. They refuse to be who I want them to be. But those are our greatest teachers. Those are our greatest teachers because they teach us to soften. They teach us to allow things to be the way that they need to be. They teach us to work with non-attachment. And working with that is what opens up the heart space really big, really wide. And when the heart space opens up really big, really wide, what pours out of you with no effort at all is compassion. What pours out of you with no effort at all is loving kindness. What pours out of you with no effort at all is unconditional love. So the scorpions help us to get past that part in us where we think, I can't care anymore because I only want to care this one way. Yogic tools, those are the sticks. So just for a breath or two, hold an image in your mind of someone in your life who you consider your scorpion. And if you can't think of anyone, just think of the idea of a person who is that kind of aggravation. And just notice that you can allow them to be as they are with no desire to change them, but may they find peace. And at the same time that they find peace, may you find peace. And may they find ease in their life. And at the same time, may you find ease in your life. It's not either or, it's both. May they be free from their suffering, whatever it is. May you be free from your suffering, whatever it is. May they find the tools that will help them to succeed in their life. May you use the tools that you have to succeed in your life. In all of your back bends, that's what we're doing, is we're opening up the heart space, not just the physical heart, but that internal heart space wider and wider and wider, so that what flows from us is easeful, not effort. But what flows from us is unconditional. So it includes all the scorpions, all the mosquitoes, all of those irritating beings that inhabit the world right alongside of us. Our greatest teachers. One more full breath. And as you exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om, deep breath in. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please. And then maybe switch the cross of your legs if you'd like, or change your seat if you need to. And then you're stretching your arms out wide. And you're going to bring your right arm over top of your left in front of you. So you wrap the forearms for eagle arms. Good. As you press the forearms together, you're drawing your armpits wide. So as you squeeze the arms in eagle, it's easy to get hunched up like this, right? So drop the shoulders away from the ears. Feel like you are trying to pull the arm bones back towards the center of the chest, or back towards the center of the spine, and squeeze those forearms. Good. And then start to make little circles with the elbows. Nice. So again, the arms are incredibly important in Scorpion, because in all of the variations, your arms are in some manner your support. So if you're in a full inversion, your arms are your only support. And some of the other variations is more of a down dog variation, which is more of what we're focusing on today. Your arms are still a big part of your support. So the shoulders, behind the shoulders, very important. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Lift your elbows up nice and high. Deep breath. And then as you exhale, bring the elbows down and in towards your belly, round into your back. So again, it's like someone's pulling up from your armpits and dropping the head, shoulders wide. Good. And then roll all the way back up. Inhale those elbows up again. Take them a little higher. And then exhale, drag them down and in, rounding into the back body, dropping the chin, but keeping the back of the throat lifted. So you keep this again, wide ridge of the shoulder girdle. And then one more time, uncurl, come back up, lift the elbows a little higher. And then exhale, draw the elbows down and in, rounding into the back. Good. And you'll notice, right, that the rounding into your back is not just going to be through your shoulders, it's going to be through your rib cage as well. And then come all the way back up. Nice job. Stretch your arms out wide, release. Good. And then let your right arm reach out to the right. So again, you're extending out through the rib cage, almost like you're doing triangle pose. And then drop that right hand down to the floor. Take the left arm over the ear. So I want you to extend long first. So that right hand really walks far away from you. And then the left arm over the ear. Good. Yep. Even further, Lorraine. Keep going. That's it. Good. Then bend that right elbow any amount towards the floor. So again, you're dropping into the opening through the side ribs. Nice, you guys. And then come all the way back up to center, please. Arms wide. Take that right hand to your outer left knee. Take your left fingertips back behind you. Spinal twist. Good. Deep breath in. And then drop your chin towards your chest as you exhale, round into your back body just a little bit more. So get more full from your lower rib cage, navel in. Good. And then lift the throat again and twist just a little bit deeper, turning the shoulders. Good. And then right hand stays where it is. Take that left hand up off the floor and then lean to your right. So you're leaning on the diagonal over that right thigh or over the right knee. Keep your left butt cheek rooted down to the floor. Good. Keep that right shoulder dropping away from your ear. Nice. One more full breath. Rotate your heart towards the sky. That's it. Nice, Dana. Really good, Linda. Good, Lisa. And then come on back up. Take that left hand across your body. So both arms are crossed, reaching for opposite knees. Drop your chin towards your chest again, round into the back rib cage. Good. So I want your spine to be flexible. This is the sort of metaphor of the scorpion. If you think of them, how their tail articulates into their spine, big, long tail. So you want to have this sense of flexibility through the entire spine. Come all the way back up. Stretch the arms out wide. Good. Left arm comes over top of right. Wrap the forearms, eagle arms. Here. So just make sure you have the other arm on top from what you did before. And again, drawing the upper arm bones back and wide. So it feels like you're trying to squeeze your arms into the shoulder socket and then start to circle the elbows. Again, starting to free up space. Try not to let your whole torso rotate. So you're isolating the movement of the shoulders. So you got to keep your ribs as still as you can. Good. And you notice that if you are moving all over the place to do this, it's like, oh, okay, my shoulders are a little stuck. If moving my arms means that I'm moving my whole torso here, shoulders are a little stuck. Good. Come back to stillness, back to center. Inhale the elbows a little higher. And then exhale, bring the elbows down and in, round and pull up through the back of your rib cage. So again, you're not just dropping into this, but as you round, you're pulling up. So pull your waistline up out of your hips. Good. And then uncurl, come all the way back up. Lift the elbows a little higher again. And then exhale, bring them all the way back down and in, rounding through your back. And again, don't collapse in your lower spine. Feel yourself lifting through the lowest part of your waist, up through your rib cage like a turtle shell. So press your back rib cage up and wide. Good. Come all the way back up to center again. One more time, lift the elbows up higher. And then exhale, draw the elbows down and in, rounding into the back of the body. Again, the head is dropping, but the throat is lifting up. So the weight of the head is not dead weight, right? You have the strength of the throat lifting up. Good. And then unwind, come all the way back up to center. Stretch the arms out wide, letter T. I know, break for the chest. And then lean to your left. Again, like you're reaching out, like you're going to go for triangle pose. And then drop that left hand down to the floor. It should be way beyond your left hip. And then take the right arm over the ear. Good. Reaching side body length. Nice, you guys. Good. And then bend that left elbow any amount towards the floor. Again, it might touch, it might not, doesn't matter. But as you bend that elbow, again, you get a little bit more of that gravity weight into that right side. Press your right butt cheek down to the floor. Good. Chest opens towards the sky. Stack that right rib cage on top of the left. Good. Nice, Beth. And then bring yourself all the way back up, please. Bring that left hand to your right knee. Right fingertips come back behind you, spinal twist. Good. So again, you can feel on the inhale, spine gets longer, so try not to lean into that back hand. And then as you exhale, draw your rib cage in just a little bit, drop your chin. So again, you're rounding into your back body. Good. Then once you found that wideness of your back, lift the throat again, bring the head up, and twist just a little bit deeper by drawing that left rib cage around and forward as the right rib cage moves back. Good. And then keep that left hand where it is, float the right arm up off of the floor, lean to your left. So come on the diagonal over that left thigh. Good. Keep your right butt cheek on the floor, actively pushing down into the floor. Good. And then again, open the chest towards the sky. So get into that twist, but don't push the ribs forward. Keep the ribs drawing in. Pressure into the back body. Good. And then as you release, come back up, cross that right arm in front of the left. So opposite hands reaching for opposite knees or shins or whatever you reach. Drop your chin. And again, rounding into your whole back. So you squeeze the hands against your legs, against your knees. So squeeze them like you're going to bend your elbows. Do bend your elbows. Squeeze the hands towards each other. There you go. Now you've got some power in your upper back. Now round into that as you're squeezing the hands together. Good. A little different, right? Nice. And then slowly release, come all the way back up. Awesome, you guys. And then roll forward onto hands and knees. Good morning, back at 6 p.m. Your back is finally awake. Good. Hands and knees, please. Beautiful. So planting the hands underneath the shoulders. Good. Knees underneath the hips. Press into your hands. Round your back into that cat position. You just find that. And I want you to round your back while you are really paying attention to pushing down into your hands. So as you push down into your hands, you feel the lift of the armpits. And now I want you to keep that feeling of pushing down into the hands and lifting your armpits and start to take your chest forward like you're coming into cow. So take the tops of your thighs back, start to come through a neutral spine. Keep pressing into your hands and keep your armpits lifted. So as you start to arch the back, bring the back of the heart forward between the upper arms, collarbones up, tailbone tilts up. You keep that pressure on your hands. And the pressure on your hands and the lift of your armpits. Now I want you to soften that place at the back of your heart. Good. And then from your belly, from your ribs, draw in, drop your head, start to move back into that cat position. And it's perfectly okay if you're like, I'm a little restricted in doing this, right? It's not easy for me to take my chest forward between my arms, but I want you to keep the pressure on the hands. Bring yourself forward again towards that neutral spine, and then start to take the tops of your thighs back, tilt your tail up as you continue to keep pushing into those hands and pull your collarbones forward. Pull them forward, pull them forward, pull them forward. And feel as you do that, as you're pulling forward, not trying to collapse, but as you pull forward, that space behind the heart gets a little bit softer. And then go ahead one more time, slow, bring it all the way back into that cat position, rounding. Good. Keeping the pressure on your hands, keeping this feeling of lifting through your armpits. Come forward again, back towards neutral. And take the tops of the thighs back, tilt the tailbone up, and pull the collarbones forward between your hands. And just keep feeling that from the back of your heart as you are drawing forward. Good. Means the armpits go wide, but there's no collapsing. Because if I ask you to collapse here, right, go ahead and release the pressure on your hands and just let yourself collapse. Good. You're like, oh, okay, that feels like more of a back bend because now I've got more pain in my back. No. Right? So you want to find this feeling where you are pushing into the hands and keeping the shoulders really stable and allowing the chest to open. And if that's more restricted, that's okay. Come back to child's pose, please, just for a breath. Knees wide, big toes together to touch. I'm gonna blow your mind here. A really good functional back bend should have no pain. How about that? So if usually in your back bends, you're like, oh, I get through them, but they're a little painful. Start to look at that. Where am I collapsing? Where am I insisting that I push my body to a place that maybe it's not really prepared to go? It's a really good back bend. There should be no pain. Good. Walk yourself all the way back up, please. Come on to hands and knees again, and then tuck your toes and lift your hips, come into downward facing dog. Separate your hands maybe a tiny bit wider on your mat, so your down dog has a wider arm width. Good. And that's so that you can practice here. You can bend your knees a little bit if that helps you, but bend your elbows out wide. As your elbows bend wide, again, you feel this movement of the shoulder blades up towards your hips, right? So shoulder blades move on the back. Good. And then start to hug your forearms towards each other. Nice. And now start to press the floor away from your hands and draw your hips back because you're pushing so firmly into your hands. Good. And then do that again. Bend the elbows out wide, arms plug into the shoulders. You feel that space between your shoulders and your throat. Maintain that as you hug your forearms together. Good. Keep the navel in. And as you press out through your hands, pull back and up through your hips. So those shoulder blades, again, slide up towards your pelvic bones. They slide up towards your tail. Good. Last time, bend your elbows out wide. Let the arms sink into the shoulder socket. Good. Keep that space between the shoulders and the ears. Hug the forearms towards each other. And now as you start to push the floor away, draw those arm bones up and in, push the crown of your head towards your fingertips. So you keep that space between the shoulders and the ears. Good. Nice. And now with the last breath here, keep your armpits right where they are. Lift your collarbones forward like you're trying to look at something just beyond the tips of your fingers. So just lifting through the back of your throat, take your gaze up, but keep your arms pulling up and in. Nice. One more breath. Pull your arms up and in. Pull them up. That's it. And then drop the head, please. Go ahead and walk your feet forward towards your hands, top of your mat. So that was your first little baby, right? I looked forward towards my fingertips, scorpion. Good. Standing at the top of your mat. Nice. Bend your knees, please. Take your belly onto your thighs and then wrap the arms around the backs of your legs. Good. Widen your inner knees so that you're pressing your legs or your knees out wide against your arms. Good. Keep that squeeze. Again, draw the shoulders away from the ears. So if you're getting hard in your upper back here, don't get hard. Draw those arm bones in. Shoulder blades draw towards your pelvis. Good. Now start to take your hips towards the sky. Keep yourself hugged in. Drop your head. As you lift your hips, keep drawing the belly away from your thighs, but don't get super hard in your back. Draw the shoulders towards each other. Yeah, nice, Teresa. So it's an idea of keeping the chest really open instead of trying to squeeze the shoulder blades to death. And that's too often what we say, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Move your shoulder blades towards each other. But the idea is not to squeeze, it's to widen. Widen the chest. Feel the wideness of the back. Good. Release your hands to the floor, please. Bend your knees a lot. Good. Take your arms forward and up to chair pose. Yeah. And then hands to heart center, please. Prayer twist. Right elbow comes to the outside of your left knee. So you're twisting to the left. Yep. Right elbow outside of left knee. So other way, Dana. Good. Don't let that right knee slide forward. You guys keep it in line with the left. Good. Same thing. Drop your hips here, curl into your back body. So round, turtle into your back. Nice. Now pressing into your hands, draw that left rib cage open more. Now draw your throat back. Good. Release back to center, hands to the floor, straighten the legs and bow. Notice how your knees went out of alignment. Don't worry, tonight's class is not on chair. We'll deal with that another day. Good. Second side, bend your knees, drop your hips, take your arms up alongside your ears. We're working the twisting dynamics, right? So again, shoulder stability while your body is doing this back bending or twisting position. Hands at heart center. Left elbow to the outside of right knee, please. So twisting towards the right. Good. So I want you to have this feeling that as you press your hands together in prayer position, is that you're not pushing and rounding into your shoulders here. You're not collapsing there. But as you push into your hands, draw your armpits back and wide, like you're trying to pull your elbows away from each other. Good. Now start to turtle into your back, pull up from your low belly, drop your chin towards your chest. Good. And drop your hips a little lower. And now stack that right rib cage on top of the left. Keep pushing into your hands. As soon as you stop pushing into your hands, you lose power and stability in your shoulders. Good. Really nice, Teresa. Nice, Lorraine. Nice, Joanne. And then throat back. Good. Come back to center. Please release the hands to the floor, straighten the legs and bow. I know Scorpion also involves a lot of quad stuff, so we can't not use your quads. Sorry. Step your right foot back just a little bit. Both legs come to straight, Parsvottanasana. Use blocks underneath the hands if you'd like. Good. But walk your hands out a little further. So like you're in a long extended Parsvottanasana. So as though you're trying to do downward facing dog. That's good, Lisa. Yeah. Because I want you to still have connection to your hands here and not in a way where you are just dumping into your hands like we usually do when our blocks are closer to underneath our shoulders. But when you have your arms extended, again, you're working this idea of a long spine and your arms having to draw up and in to stay connected to your chest. Good. So there's that little bit of feeling that in this position, you don't have as much option to collapse. I know that's no fun at all, but do your best. Good. Can you feel yourself breathing into the back of your heart? All of the spaces that feel like in your back there is a little bit of tightness or restriction, send your breath there. Feel the wideness of your back. Good. And then walk yourself, hands can come in just a little bit, walk yourself to your left, so towards the baby toe edge of that front foot. Good. Keeping the hips facing straight ahead though. So as you walk to the left, don't let that right hip spin forward. Keep drawing it back. Keep your left low belly lifting wide and up to the left. Good. Nice, you guys. Nice, Emily. Awesome. Bring yourself all the way back to center, please. Good job. Switch the feet, please. Step your right foot forward, step your left leg back. Again, just far enough so that the legs can be straight, feet flat. Again, make sure your feet are as wide as your hips. So you don't want to be too narrow in your stance, or again, you're going to lose the ability for your hips to really open, for your outer thighs to really open. So Beth, I might take your feet a little wider, right and left. There you go. Good. And this is definitely one of those poses where nobody knows where they are in space. So if you were in class and someone's coming around to adjust you, then they'll adjust you and be like, oh, now you're squared. You'll be like, no freaking way. Like, that's impossible. Or they'll, move your feet and you'll be like, oh, I actually can stand without falling now. It's one of those poses where nobody knows what they're doing once they're in it. Make sure your hands are extended forward so your spine is long, like you're in down dog. Good. And that's sort of the truth for most of the things that we do, is that when we're in it, we have no idea what we're doing. We think we know what we're doing. We have an idea of what we're trying to do. And so we assume that we're succeeding at what we're trying to do. And it's only until we have that outside someone saying, you could use a stick. You might be hurting yourself here. We're like, no, are you kidding? No. Usually our response is F you. I know what I'm doing. Maybe not. That's our joke, is that if your yoga teacher gives you a correction, you're like, oh, thank you. Someone else in your life gives you a correction, you throw something at them. So I say our greatest teachers are the ones that piss us off, because they force us to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and maybe examine what is their response or what is their responsibility to deal with and what is ours. Start to walk your hands back in a little bit. and then walk to your right. So your hands come to the baby toe edge of that foot. And then watch here that your left hip is not flipping open, right? Turn it forward still. Right low belly pulls up and wide. And that left hip is going to spin forward and down towards the floor. Good. It might mean that you can't go as deep to the side as you thought you could, but that's okay. Keep working through what your pelvis wants to do, not what your mind wants to do. Good. Nice, you guys. Walk yourself back to center, please. Plant your hands, step yourself back to downward facing dog. One foot, then the other. Good. And then again, your hands can be just a little bit wider. Good. Drop your chin in towards your chest or look towards your belly button. Start to round into your upper back and then bring yourself forward in a nice rounded position towards plank pose. So bring your shoulders forward over your wrists. Good. And then once you find that position, lift the back of your throat, hug your arms up and in. So as your chest starts to widen, you are drawing those shoulder blades towards the center of your back. Good, but only as much as you need to stay. Now roll forward just a little bit further, like your shoulders come to the tips of your fingers. Nice. Now lean back, press out through your heels, slide back. Yep, shoulders slide back, slide forward again, tips of the shoulders towards your fingertips. Keep pushing into your arms, armpits, push back into your heels, let your shoulders slide back. One more time, bring your shoulders forward towards the tips of your fingers. Keep your navel in and up, slide back, press your shoulders back, heels back. Nice. And then lift the hips nice and high, downward facing dog, bringing the head in line with the spine. Good. Drop the knees to the floor, please. Child's pose. Make a little pillow with your hands if you'd like. So having the elbows bent wide might feel like more of a shoulder release than having the arms extended forward. Good. Yeah. The scorpion, the number one thing is once you hear it's supposed to be done in handstand or forearm stand, you're like, oh, well, I'm done then. See you tomorrow. See you next week. But the principles of scorpion happen in a lot of poses, right? The shoulder integration really should be there in every back bend that we do. But until we need it to be there, we usually don't learn it. We usually don't use it. So again, that's the benefit, is the things that aggravate us force us to use tools that otherwise we'd be like, no, I can get by without it. It's painful, but I can get by without it. My threshold of misery hasn't been crossed. So I say thank you to the ones that push us to our edges so that we stop doing things in a way that hurt us that maybe we didn't even notice that we were doing. Because if you're doing it with the people who irritate you, you're probably doing it with the people you like as well. You just haven't noticed. Good. Walk yourself back up onto hands and knees, please. And then find yourself in a comfortable seated position. So you can sit in Vrschikasana if you'd like. That's a great one for, again, stretching the quads here. So that's sitting between your heels or on a block that is between your feet or a blanket between your feet. So if that is not an option, any cross-legged seat is totally fine. Grab your straps. Yep, grab your strap if you have one or whatever you're using to pretend to be a strap. Good. So you're taking your strap out in front of you. Give yourself a nice long length in front of you. Just one long line, no loops or special whatever. So wider than your shoulders. Give yourself plenty of room on the strap and make sure there's space behind you so you're not right up against the wall. So as you inhale here, right? So you can feel the difference before you go anywhere. Chest height with that block or with the strap, sorry. Push forward, right? So you get that full like, oh, this is me pulling my arms forward out of my shoulder socket. Feel that. Now plug those arms into your shoulder socket. Feel that? Keep that. Keep your ribs drawn in, keep your hips dropping towards your block or your heels. Again, this is just rotation on your arms. You don't want your torso moving here. So keep your tension on the strap. Inhale the arms all the way up. Strap is straight, nice straight line in your wrist. Exhale, bring it all the way back behind you. Don't bend the elbow. So give yourself as much room on the strap as you need, or pause at that point where you know it's not useful to go any further. Keep your ribs in and then bring it back the other way. Come all the way back up and exhale it forward in front of you. So again, shoulder rotation. Good. And then keep doing that. Inhale up, taking the strap back behind you again to whatever extent it can go. It might not come all the way down. That's fine. And then bring it all the way back up and forward again. Good. So again, you're looking for there to be that neutral line on your wrist. So your wrists are not flexing, bending, straight line. And you're looking for there not to be this action where as you bring the strap behind you, you're arching your back to try and make it easier. Don't try and make it easier. Work with where the restriction actually is. Keep your torso as still and neutral as you can, and just work the rotation of the shoulder. And again, you have all the length of the strap to use, so don't get it into your head that you have to make it work with a shorter length. Good, be realistic. And again, when there is shoulder stuff, this movement doesn't always work. Full range of motion might not be available. So if that is the case, don't go as deep, right? Make sure you stop at the point where your shoulders say that's enough. Good. Keep going. Couple thousand more. In a lot of the old texts, you know, the mantras and things that the practices that were given is they would say things like, do it 10,000 times, 10,000 repetitions. You think, what? I can barely commit to 10,000 times. Good. Next time your strap comes forward in front of you, place it to the side. Good. And just let your head drop forward, chin forward towards your chest. Let your head roll to the right, all the way around, full circle. And forward again, circling slow circles to the right. And then start to go the other way. As you start to come forward, bring the chin back, over, left ear towards left shoulder, all the way around, circling the neck. Good. And then come back to stillness. Nice, you guys. Good. So come up slowly out of the Vršikasana if you've been sitting there for a while. So bring your hips up, come back onto hands and knees. Good. Press back to downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Good. And again, here in your down dog, bend your knees a lot this time. As your knees bend, pull your butt back and see if you can do little pelvic tilts in your down dog. So it's like you're flaring those sit bones, arching the lower spine and then tucking just a little bit, and then arching and then tucking and then arching and then tucking, but try to isolate as much as you can in your lower pelvis, lower back. So again, as though you have that fluid tail that extends beyond you. Good. So less in the upper back stays nice and steady, squeezing the forearms, feeling the arm bones pulling up and in. Good. Work that lower spine. Nice. And then go ahead, come to stillness, straighten the legs. Awesome, you guys. Again, sliding forward to plank pose, bring your shoulders over your wrists, pulling up through the armpit. So again, don't come forward as low to the floor as you can, come as lifted as you can. And then come forward just a tiny bit more, tops of shoulders towards your fingertips. Lower down slow. You can bring your knees to the floor first if you need, but all the way down. Good. And then take your hands just a little bit wider off of your mat for a wide arm cobra. So lift up head, neck, and chest, pressing down through your feet. Good. And the beauty of the wide arm cobra, right, is that I can tell you to lift your elbows higher. So you keep your elbows bent, you let yourself drop a little bit more, lift your elbows forward and up. So it's like you're making this straight neutral line from your arm bones across your chest. So there's none of this shoulder or arm bones rolling forward. Is that as the elbows bend, you're lifting that up and wide. And if that means you have to come lower to the floor to do that, I want you to come as low as you need to come. But work this angle, right? Shoulders not coming this way, arm bones going this way. Good. Work that rotation of your arms and shoulders. So Dana, I would stay right about there and then work those arm bones up and wide. There you go. Yeah, lower tips of shoulder blades down and in, lift the collarbones up. There you go. Nice, you guys. One more breath. I know, stay with it. Really nice, Joanne. Good, Lorraine. And then slowly lower down, forehead to the floor. Make a pillow with your hands. Ay, ay, ay. Clenching in your butt. Of course you were. Clenching in my butt. That's what we do when we're back bending. We clench in our butt. And by doing that, when you clench your butt, right? Little pro tip here. When you clench your butt and you're squeezing everything in, is you're actually creating pressure, compressing your tailbone. You're shortening your lower back. It's going to make your back bends more painful. So doing that at the expense of or compensating for where the upper back or the middle back is not able or ready to go or not strong enough to support itself means that you might get into some back bendy shapes, but they're going to hurt. And over time, they're going to hurt more. Until one day you really hurt yourself and then say, oh, I guess I just can't back bend anymore. That pose isn't good for me. What? The pose was always good for you. You just didn't want to do it or didn't find the way to do it, right? So that's what we practice. All right, forehead to the floor. Please take your hands back behind your head this time. So forehead down, hands behind your head. Interlace the fingers, lift the elbows up off the floor. So now it's hands interlaced behind your head. Good. Keeping your forehead to the floor, keep your feet on the floor. Start to, from that armpit area, lift up head, neck, and chest. So your lower ribs hover up off of the floor. Pull them in and up. Press your shins down. Press the tops of your thighs down. Even feel like you're bending your knees into the floor. If you bend your knees into the floor, it's much harder to clench your butt. Good. Really work from your back. That's it. Be really frustrated about it, but work from your back. Good. And then slowly release. Crocodile pose. Oh, it's fun, right? All of the best animal poses. Good. Come up to Sphinx pose, please. So forearms underneath your shoulders. Hands as wide as your shoulders. So again, the more narrow you take your hands, the more pressure that is on your shoulders. So take your hands wider, take your elbows wider if you need. Good. And as you push down into your forearms, not just your elbows, but you're pushing all the way down the length of the forearms, all the way down into your hands. Good. Feel as though you are dragging backwards on the arms. So again, it's almost as though you were going to drag yourself along the floor. Good. And then you're feeling that same sensation of this is lifting and widening, like that wide arm cobra. So you actually have to take this whole armpit area, upper arm area, and push wide, right? As though there's invisible walls just on the outside of your upper arms. Push wide into them. And as you push wide into them, probably what you feel is a little bit of a softening at the back of your heart, just a little bit. And with that softening, you can lift your chest forward a little more. So you widen, soften, lift. Good. And then optional here, if you want to separate your feet a little wider, you can. If you want to turn your hands, your arms outward just a little bit, you can. So angling them out towards the corners of your mat. So if it's available here, you can start to press into your hands, lift your elbows up off the floor, come to straight arms. It's going to be more compression at the lower back. The idea is to, as you do that, not to push the floor away and do this, right? Get tight in your shoulders. But as you push the floor away, you have that same action of I draw my arm bones up and in, and I bring my chest forward. From the back of my heart, I pull everything forward. From my arms, I press into the floor and pull up. Energy up. Good. Wide chest. Nice. And then slowly release all the way back to your elbows. Release back onto your belly. Ay, 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 ay. Good. Nice, you guys. Take one more full breath. Have some more stuff to do, unfortunately. Bend your knees, please. So come on up, bend your knees, reach back for the feet or the ankles. So reaching for the feet or the ankles. And again, if you can't reach them, that's okay. Plant the hands alongside your ribs. You're drawing your heels down and in towards your butt. And again, if you are holding the feet as you're staying there, keeping the heels glued to your butt. If you cannot reach your feet, you're doing your best to bring those heels in and maybe planting the hands alongside your ribs like you would for Cobra. Good. And then you're bending your elbows. Keep your thighs on the floor. Lift up head, neck, and chest. So root down through the tops of your thighs. Feel a little lift. Again, you're working from trying to hollow into the low place of your ribs. So drop your chin again, because you're all looking forward. Drop your chin and pull up from the middle of your rib cage. Try to turtle your back. Turtle, 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 and bend your elbows. Yeah, it's the elbow bending that matters in this pose. Bend your elbows and turtle from your back. I know, it's really annoying. Keep those thighs on the floor. It's a quad stretch and it's a shoulder stretch. Bend your elbows up towards the ceiling. Nice, Joanne. Good. Work from your ribs, not your chin. And then slowly release. I know. You're like, I don't like back bending. Let it go. Let it go. Nice, you guys. You got one more thing to do on your belly. Again, these are variations, right? Or that was not a variation, but we're coming into a variation in just a moment of what you could consider scorpion. Though it's not typically called that, but works in that direction. So there's an engagement in all back bends where you have to use your legs and you have to use your shoulder girdle back muscles equally for there to be a unified extension of the spine. That's what back bending is. It's a unified extension. It's not one part of your spine extending, it's the entire spine extending. And it has to extend in both directions. So your legs should feel like they get 1,000 miles long in Cobra pose or locust pose. That same idea, even with the knees bent, you want it to feel like there's this endless energy that is moving down through the legs at the same time that there is endless energy moving up through the chest and through the head. So walk your hands back again, plant your hands alongside your ribs this time, like you would be in Cobra, and you're welcome to take your hands a little bit wider in this position. And if you want to, you can start this more in a Sphinx pose. You will come less high up through your chest, but totally fine. So either set your forearms in Sphinx or set your hands alongside your ribs, bend both knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Press your thighs down into the floor, press into your hands before you lift your chest. Feel that widening again, as though there's that invisible wall that you're trying to push your upper arms into. Good, so you push out wide through the armpits and then start to lift head, neck, and chest. And press down through the tops of your knees, tops of your thighs. We're drawing down and forward. Good. So as you come into this, again, if you have the ability to start to straighten the arms without collapsing in your chest, as you could, take your arms all the way to straight in this position. Good. But if not, I want you to just press down through the tops of the thighs. Nice, Lisa. Good. I don't want you to do it in a way that feels crunchy. I want you to do it in a way where you feel like your back is actually rising up like that scorpion tail. Good. One more breath. Rooting down, chest up, and then slowly release. Really good, Teresa. Nice, Beth. Good, Emily. Good job, everybody. So I consider that like a variation of scorpion, even though it is not technically called that. Press your hands, press down into your hands, come back up onto hands and knees, please. Do a little bit of cat and cow or circling of your hips. So moving out wherever there maybe was some stuckness. But for people who, in my mind, would say, oh, there's no way I can do scorpion, I would be like, do that. Suppose you can do. And it works all the same action of scorpion. Right? It works the thighs, works the back bend. Good. And then slowly release, come back to child's pose, drop your hips to your heels, let your knees go wide if they'd like. And breathing into the lower back. Beautiful. Our back is a place where we often feel that there's a lot of vulnerability. But there's also an incredible amount of strength, and it is strength that is supporting you through the worst moments of your life, right? Your back is capable, and we know this, of, or we're capable of dealing with a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain in our back before we decide to do something about it. And usually, can't say in all cases, but often that back pain is related to not just something that we are overdoing, but many things that we are underdoing. Things we aren't paying attention to that we don't notice. Those scorpions remind us, what the heck are you doing and how are you doing it? So if you're getting fatigued, is it because you're giving too much? Is it because you're giving in a way that is painful to you and you have the ability to change? Walk yourself all the way back up to hands and knees. Okay. All right, downward facing dog. Wondering if I was going to do this, but we're going to do it. Step your right foot forward between the hands, please. Drop the back knee. You're using a blanket underneath that knee for Asana. And we are working in a quad stretch. So if you want the blanket or cushioning underneath your knee, make sure you have it. And then grab your strap if you can. So this is a part where it gets a little bit complicated, because what I would love for you to do is if you can make a loop with your strap and loop it around your back foot. Yep. Around the front of your back foot. Yep. So that when you lift that foot, you have the strap around your foot. Good. So you're coming into the quad stretch. So if you can, bringing the pelvis forward, you have to be in front of that back kneecap. Your leg has to be more straight than it is bent. If you're right on top of that knee, there's no way it's going to work. So as that knee bends, you're reaching your arms up overhead and bending the elbows to reach for the strap. So your arms should be pretty much in this position that you see that I'm in, reaching for the strap behind you. Good. You got it. Yep, yep, yep. And again, if just the quad stretch is enough and you need to have one hand on the floor to work with that, you can just work with your hand. Don't worry about the strap. Good. But if you're there, right, opportunity here, lift as tall as you can through your waist. Don't just push forward into your belly. Chest up and wide. And then again, draw those arm bones down. Use the pressure on that strap to lift your pelvic bones, to lift through your chest. So get as tall as you possibly can and then start to lean back, but keep weight in your front heel. Nice. Bend your elbows more, Joanne, so that you're like walking your hands down the strap. Good. One more breath. Keep your navel engaged. And then slowly release, please. Release the strap, release the pose. Yikes. I know. Good. Give it a break. Go ahead and lift that back knee, please. So walk your hands inside the front foot, walk to your left, come into Vrschikasana. I feel like it wouldn't be a Thursday night class if we didn't do this pose. Wide legs. Good. And so again, some of you are thinking scorpion is not a pose that I ever need to do. So what am I doing to myself here? And the answer is you go to the place that makes you feel open through your heart. So if it's just working with the quad stretch without the strap, you do that. If it's just working in Asana and lifting the arms up and back behind you, that's an option too, is leave the quad stretch out if the knees don't like it. Right? But learning to practice every pose mentally or energetically in a way that doesn't hurt us is a big deal. Learning to practice yoga in a way that doesn't hurt us is a big deal. Good. Start to walk yourself back towards the top of the mat, right toes turn forward. Step back to down dog, and then just switch the feet. Take your left leg forward. Dropping the back knee, using a blanket underneath the knee again for support. Going to have to remind myself that the purpose of these classes is to just give you all of the tools necessary to practice this pose and have it make sense in your body. So part of me is like, we didn't do as much of this or as much as that as I would have liked. Focused on scorpion pose. So as you come into that quad stretch, loop the strap around the back foot so that as you lift that heel up towards your butt, and again, your hips have to be forward of your knee. You can reach back, elbows up towards the ceiling, reach back for that strap. And again, if you're not using the strap, you can still come into this arm position, bring the palms together, press the heels of the hands to the back of your head, elbows up to the sky. And then just keep arching the upper back, keep bringing your chest up and squeezing those elbows and drag down. Again, armpits down. Nice. Weight in your front heel here, everybody. Good, good, good. Nice, Emily. Try not to look too miserable, you guys. You got to relax. You got it. That's it, Linda. You got it. Awesome, Beth. Nice, Teresa. And then slowly release, please. Release the foot, release the arms. Good. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Walk to your right, both hands, Vrschikasana. Again, just release for the pelvis, release for the legs. The scorpion. We don't typically, of course, and especially in the story that I told, is you're like, as if I told you to imagine yourself as the scorpion, of course you don't want to. And be like, I can't possibly be that to somebody. You could be, right? You have no idea. who imagines you when they're told to imagine the scorpions in their life. We have no idea. It doesn't matter. But to think of yourself as the scorpion that has that fluidness through its spine, the fluidness through its tail, that's what you're looking to achieve in this pose is, can I have the strength and the fluidness in my spine to find that back bend? Good. Start to walk yourself back towards the top of your mat. And can we recognize that we have those moments when we are the scorpion, right? When we just bite someone when they're trying to help us. Step back to downward facing dog, or where we're refusing to acknowledge something that maybe to someone else is obvious. That's really okay. Compassion has to work in all directions, compassion for others and equally compassion for yourself. It's not either or. Hands a little bit wider on your mat, please. Good. Take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Keeping the leg nice and straight, stack the right hip on top of the left. So open. Yeah. So you just get that full stretch on your spine. And then while you're in that open position, bend your knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, squeeze. And even here, can you feel like you are lifting your chest forward towards your hands? Little twisting scorpion, almost like you're going to bring the back of your head to your heel. Good. And then release the head here. Turn that knee back down to the floor. Good. And then release the foot. Good. Pause for a moment. Take the left leg up and back behind you. Keeping the leg straight, stack the left hip on top of the right. Good. And then in that open position, bend the knee, kick your heel in, but keep that inner knee lifted nice and high. So you don't stop trying to stack the hip. You just bend the knee and draw the heel in. And then even here, can you feel yourself trying to actually press into your hands, lift your chest forward, feel your low rib cage draw in. Good. Feel your low belly draw up, especially that right side pelvis, right side low belly. Good. Like you're going to bring your heart to the back of your heel, the back of your head to your heel. I like the back of your heart better. Nice, Teresa. Good, Joanne. Nice, everybody. Nice, Lorraine. Good. Slowly release, please, pointing that knee back down towards the floor. Take that foot to flat. Good. Drop down to your knees, please. Child's pose, resting the arms for a moment. You've got one more. One more, and then you're done. But I consider that quad stretch with the strap a variation of scorpion. Consider that cobra position the beginning of scorpion. I consider down dog split with this action of drawing the heel in and the chest up. Big part of doing scorpion is, for some people, it will never be the inversion, and that's fine. You can work the same extension of your spine, the same awareness of your arms, your shoulders. You don't have to be fully upside down. Good. Bring yourself back up onto hands and knees, down dog one more time. You can do it. It's the last time before you can collapse from the scorpion bites, right? Take the right leg up and back, down dog split. Good. Bend the knee. Keep your knee pointing down this time. Heel squeezes in towards your butt. And then start to lift that thigh a little higher. And then again, pressing into your hand. So use that pressure and draw the arm bones up, and your chest goes wide. The back of your heart goes super wide. And feel as you push wide through those armpits that you get a little softer at the back of your heart. So the more you try to just lift your chin, is you're going to get stuck. So let the chin be just looking just at the tips of your fingers. And you're pulling your arms back. That's the trick. The arms pull back as your chest comes forward and up, forward and up. If you don't let your chest move, you're not going anywhere. Nice. And then release, please. Pause for a moment. Try the second side. Left leg up. I know. Bend the knee, heel in. Knee continues to point down at the floor though. Don't let the hip fly open. Lift that thigh a little higher. And then again, as you drag back on the arms, keep pushing into your hands, but pull up through your armpits. Push wide through the upper arms. Push wide through the sides of your rib cage, the sides of your shoulder blades. Push wide. And then feel like the back of your heart is just dissolving. And as the back of your heart dissolves, the arm bones slide up a little bit more. Your gaze is just barely at the tips of your fingers. Good. Slowly release the leg, release the head. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Ay, 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 ay. Good. If you can, take your feet together, big toes and inner heels. Come up on the balls of your feet and then bend your knees wide into a little frog squat. And then once you're in that little frog squat, let your heels start to reach for the floor. So it's like you're taking your feet flat and walk your hands forward in between the knees, shoulders in between the knees. And this might feel like it's enough. So it's sort of like a very weird on the balls of your feet, Vrschikasana. I don't know. If you want to go for the bind here, bring your upper arms right in front of your shins and wrap the arms around to hold hands behind your heels. So the upper arms are in front of your shins. It's like you're squeezing your legs with your arms. Squeeze your knees around your ribs. You got it. You got to drop those hips low. Let your heels soften towards the floor. And again, here too, space between shoulders and ears. Almost, Lisa. You got to bring your elbows in front of your knees. Elbows in front of your knees. Yeah. Yep. It's even weirder. There you go. And then you got to turn your hands, turn your arms backwards and reach around. That's it. You got it. Excellent. It's garland pose. One more breath. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. You got it, Lorraine. Good. Close enough. And then slowly release, please. Come on down to sit. Ay, ay, ay. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Oh, I know. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Paschimottanasana, bow forward, reaching for the ankles, feet, legs. Grab onto something. I don't care what you grab onto, but grab onto something. Keep your feet awake, so curl your toes back. And then as you hold, wherever you're holding, start to round your back. Good. So do the reverse of everything you've just been doing again. Reverse, round, 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 round. Good. Lift the back of your throat just a little bit more. Nice. And then again, extend your spine, drawing the arms up and in and feeling your chest or collarbones pull towards the tips of your toes. One of my teachers used to say, like, you're going to put your heart on your toes. That's how far you reach in Paschimottanasana. Good. And then slowly release, come all the way back up. Bend your right knee, please. Plant the foot and then step it over your left thigh. Wrap your left arm around that knee. Right hand comes back behind you, twisting to your right, pulling the thigh up and towards the belly, dropping that sit bone. Breathe fully into the back of the body, into the chest. So when you're done here, if you're like, okay, I feel pretty warmed up and I want to go into handstand and start working scorpion, you can. Handstand towards the wall. Give yourself a little bit more space away from the wall. And you got to do that same, pulling your arms up, chest forward, bend the knees, press your shins into the wall. You could work scorpion right there. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. Slowly release, come back to center, please. And then switch the twist of your legs. So take the right leg forward, bend your left knee, step it over the right thigh. Take your right arm around that knee, left hand comes back behind you, twisting to the left, drawing the thigh up in towards your belly. Good. And then start to release, bringing yourself back forward. Unwind the legs, please. And then go ahead and find your way onto your backs. If you're in the room here and you want to turn around, so head face the center, that's great. At home, you can face any direction you want. Come on down to your backs. Then bend your knees. Please take your right ankle over your left thigh. Lift that left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold the leg if you'd like. Or again, you can always choose not to hold the leg. Good. So just lift that left foot up off the floor, you guys. Good. So Lisa, change the leg that you're holding. So hold, nope, right ankle there. Just hold, reach through the legs. There you go. Holding the left thigh. You got it, Linda. That's it. Keep your low back anchoring down to the floor. They say completely that our tolerance when it comes to some of these internal states, we talk about contentment or compassion or any of these things that are really, should be simple, but aren't at all. Is that we have to build a tolerance for them. It's like a muscle. If it's weak, then it seems like it's hard to hang on to. We hit fatigue a lot faster. When we start to become a little bit more skillful, a little bit more understanding about our relationship through those feelings, we start to learn to do it with less effort. And often that comes with also taking it less personally, which is hard. Good, slowly release, please. Step that foot down to the floor and then switch sides. So left ankle over right thigh, lift the right shin parallel to the floor, reach through to hold. It's very interesting in metta meditation that it's suggested to discover for yourselves what you find more difficult, because some people will find that the most difficult thing is not extending the loving kindness or the compassion to the person who irritates them. They're like, no, I can do that. But they have trouble doing it to themselves. They have trouble having that equality of the same thing that I offer to anyone else is what I would offer to myself. Or I want the same thing that I want for me, for everybody equally. So it's often said, don't force yourself. If you're like, no way, Jose, don't force yourself. Instead, go to those individuals or those situations where you naturally feel that that feeling is already there. You go to the people you love, the people that you care about, the people that you sincerely feel compassion for, not sympathy, compassion. You get used to the feeling and say, can I maintain this feeling for these other people, realizing that they too are struggling the same way. And then can I also feel that for myself because I'm struggling, same way they are. Details might be different, but the feeling of struggle is the same. And sometimes we take it in the direction that Krishnadas says as we practice metta meditation so that we break our, attachments to other people. We say, may they find everything that they need, peace and love and happiness, so that they will leave me alone, so that the scorpions will go away, go bother someone else. And that's fine too. Unwind your legs, please. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Let your knees go a little bit wider towards your armpits. So it's like you're in an inverted child's pose. Good. And then squeeze the knees all the way together. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees and hug. Nice. And then slowly release. If you want a final spinal twist, go ahead and take it. Otherwise, my suggestion is to take one bridge pose before your shavasana. So either a spinal twist or a bridge pose, planting your feet, lifting your hips. Good. So Lisa, keep your elbows on the floor for this one instead of going for the wheel position. Fingertips up towards the ceiling. So you push down into your upper arms and lift your chest. There you go. Nice, you guys. So your choice, bridge pose or a spinal twist, or both if you really want. And then start to find your shavasana, releasing the hips back down to the floor. I like it as one last opportunity to really stretch the thighs, stretch the shoulders, the back, the chest. And then release, let go. May you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free from suffering and the root causes of suffering. Just keep replacing the face that is behind the you. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Let your body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. And if you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest, maybe letting yourself rock from side to side, forward and back. And then letting yourself roll all the way to the right side. Giving yourself a moment of breath before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. That metaphor of the scorpion and the attempt to help the scorpion. So many layers. One is that we're not going to change the scorpion. Scorpion is a scorpion. But our relationship with those energies in our lives, including when it's an energy that exists in us that is stubborn or that is destructive or that is painful, is that our relationship to it is what we become more skillful at. And the more skillful we become, the less painful it becomes. Right? So the practice is not to find your fatigue and then try to escape. It's to find those places where you want to run, where you want to say, I'm done, I can't care anymore, not for you, not for you, not for you, not for any of you. Instead, we get softer. And in that softening, we say, okay, I have to care a different way. Right? There's a different reservoir of feeling in me that is not attached to whatever I wanted it to be or how I wanted it to feel or how I wanted it to go. It's none of that. Compassion is none of what I thought it was. But I can still do it. I can still offer. That may you, scorpion or not scorpion, be free, be happy. And find the end of your suffering, the roots of your suffering, whatever they may be, and may I do exactly the same. And because I know that there's a togetherness in you doing your work and me doing mine in your own way, my own way. That's the compassion that unites us, that I hope you succeed as I succeed. And that's it. So we get softer in ourselves instead of shutting down. And then we never have to say, I'm done, I'm out of compassion, I'm out of love, I'm out of feeling, I'm out of this, I'm out of that. You're infinite, how could you be out? So the scorpions teach us that, to keep reaching for that unending reservoir of where we can love every being, even if they don't want us to love them, even if it seems like they don't give that back. It's not about getting it back. Your heart gets wider, your heart gets bigger. So thank you, scorpions. Close the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. Until I see you again, don't forget about all the stuff that is going on. Tuesday night butterfly talks. What else was happening that I'm supposed to remember? I'm not going to remember it, but pay attention to your emails. And again, we're going to have more exciting stuff coming up as we move into the fall. Anyone who has not done teacher training, if you are interested, you still got a little less than a month to sign up. So, sign up. You guys who've already done it, do it again. Why not? You can.
Thank you.
Don't mind. But we'll see you soon, okay?